But let's get into some basketball real quick. SGA, Shea Gilgeous Alexander, signed a 4-year, $285 million contract extension. Champ, correct me if I'm wrong, the highest paid contract
in sports history, not just
71. Yep,
sports.
71 sports history, $71.25 million per year. Well deserving of it. I mean, MVP, Western Conference Finals MVP, Finals MVP, NBA champion, led the NBA in scoring. Oklahoma City has the future dynasty with him, Jalen Williams, Chet Holmgren. I have no problem with it. You get paid according to the market. He's clearly a top 5 player in the NBA. What are your thoughts about it, Champ?
Well deserved, well deserved, well darn deserved, well freaking deserved. You had arguably one of the most decorated years since Michael Jordan.
Or
This
Shaq?
is yes, this is a Michael Jordan Shaq-esque year. You won the scoring title. You won the MVP. You won the finals. You won the finals MVP. First team All NBA. And then you won every single award on the way to the playoff. You won the Magic Johnson Award. You won the Bill Russell Award. So you had arguably the most decorated year since Shaquille O'Neal and Jordan. So darn right, pay him. There's a lot of guys where you say pay the guy, and you say we really saying paying you because we don't know want to know what it's like to go without you. But in SGA, you would have been a darn fool not to play SGA. You'd have been a fool, and I'm glad that he is the potential face of the NBA. Small market, showing them how it's done. It's not always about who got the fattest pockets. Not always who got the biggest things off the field, off the court. It ain't always about the star attractions off the court. It's about that general manager, Sam Presti, them doing their jobs, them putting teams together, them being able to play their players, putting teams together. That's what it's about. It's not about marketing anymore. Because this proves right here that this right here and Giannis winning in the small market that he won in Milwaukee.
Jokic.
Those are 3 prime examples to prove you can win in a small market. You can say LeBron as well. I can't take anything away from LeBron.
Cleveland,
LeBron
yeah.
won in Cleveland. Not necessarily a free agent attraction, and you had to deal with the owner and his little ways.
No, not little ways. I mean, when LeBron departed Cleveland back in 2010, Dan Gilbert wrote a letter guaranteeing that the Cavaliers would win a championship before LeBron would ever win one.
The thing is this. People don't talk about why LeBron left. They just say he left.
No, no, Champ. It was also because of personal reasons, which I don't think you want to get into.
Yeah, that too. And Dan Gilbert, he wasn't willing to spend any money. Remember, he just had bought the team. That year that LeBron was a free agent, everybody was a free agent. And he wasn't willing to bring anybody in there. So guess what? If you're not going to be the general manager and the owner that I need you to be in order to capitalize, then guess what? I'm going to be my own general manager. And I'm going to get the blank out of here. Because you're not going to waste my knees, waste my body, waste my prime years because you don't want to spend no money. I understand you're in debt because you just bought this team. But I'm the star player. I'm the star attraction. You're not finna waste me away. And so therefore, I don't blame LeBron for leaving. I don't blame people. Always make a big deal about the decision of him going on, ESPN. It was a little much, but guess what?
I didn't like him. No, Champ, I didn't like it because my thing was, look, if you wanted to leave, which I don't have a problem with LeBron leaving, you could have handled it behind closed doors.
Mm-hmm.
Champ, you would have done the exact same thing. You're a man of integrity. You would have said, you know what? I want to thank you for everything. even though you came into the organization, I want to thank the Cleveland Cavaliers for everything that they've done for me for the past 7 years. However, I feel like it's best for me to move on and start elsewhere and move on to my next chapter in life. I have no problem with LeBron doing that. I didn't like how the way he handled it with the decision on national television, because and when he made that decision that night, he became a pariah. I mean, you saw a lot of Cleveland fans burning his jerseys, stuff like that. They would have burned his jerseys regardless by him leaving. But the fact that he decided to announce it on national television intensified it.
Yeah.
And I think, to your point, Champ, with the small markets, it's great with SGA. It's great with Jokic. It's great with Giannis and all these other players winning in small markets, because it doesn't have to be big markets anymore. I mean, we talked about Game 7 of the NBA Finals. Look how the ratings were in Game 1. Game 1, they were like the lowest ratings of the NBA Finals. And then Game 7, first time since 2016. The highest, right?
Yes, highest since 2018. So
Right.
markets can really get it done.
Yes, and when you talk about the culture, the cohesiveness in Oklahoma City, and when you think of Oklahoma, like I said, Champ, that's really more of a football state, because
Yes.
you think of the Oklahoma Sooners, the Oklahoma State Cowboys, you think of the Red River rivalry, but they could change the landscape, and they've debunked. Well, it's Seattle. You talked about how Seattle, at one point, it was a big market. It was like, what, the 10th, 11th biggest market in the country at one point.
Yes, indeed.
And how NBA is trying to do what they can to bring back Seattle into the NBA, which I think would be great to do, in my opinion, because you already got the Seattle Storm, you got the Seattle Seattle Seahawks. Imagine if you bring back a team back into Seattle. That'd be great. But I think for Oklahoma, you can't go wrong with this SGA giving him the money. Clearly, that trade for Paul George, that's going to look at Clippers' infamy. And that's also going to look at Kawhi's legacy as well, because Kawhi also wanted Paul George and was willing to give up SGA and a lot just to acquire Paul George. Well, how's that turned out for the Clippers? Not so much. You also got to give credit to CP3, Chris Paul, Champ, because he's been a mentor to SGA. And look how SGA's game has evolved. Not just with Sam Presti. You got to give credit to CP3, which is why he's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer, one of the best point guards in the NBA, top 10. I also give a lot of credit to Sam Presti being the architect of that organization, because he's able to get so many draft picks, so much talent, and they got a ton of draft picks later on.
Yes, they do.
So for him to keep an SGA, and again, SGA is from Canada. So again, it tells you you don't really necessarily need the American player to be the face of the NBA. You can also have international players as well. And we've seen the development of international players. Jokic, Giannis, SGA, Luka. And how most of them are playing in small markets and developing the brand, which is beautiful for basketball. You also got Chet Holmgren. He's not going anywhere. Jalen Williams, who's a really good number 3, number 2 option on a team who can give you some buckets as well. And I just think as long as Sam Presti is there, hey, more power to them.
Yes. That trade, if they end up becoming a dynasty, well, scratch that. They won a championship off the heels of the Paul George trade. And you got to think what would have happened if the Clippers had kept SGA. Got to think about that scenario as well. And you got to think about the fact that the reason that the two teams in the NBA Finals was because of Paul George. So in essence, Paul George is the Herschel Walker of the NBA. Tyrese Halliburton ended up in Indiana, primarily because of the asset they got from Paul George. SGA ended up Oklahoma City Thunder because of Paul George. So he's essentially, and they got a hell of a lot of picks, much like the Dallas Cowboys ended up with after that Herschel Walker trade. So he's essentially going to go down in history, especially if they become a dynasty, as the Herschel Walker of the NBA. And that, unfortunately, is going to be a stain on his legacy. And there's a lot of stains. You know, you need Tide to get that out. You need a lot of Tide. You're going to need some carpet. You're going to need some need some air freshener and everything. Because first you got to talk about the misfortunes in Indiana, how he couldn't get over the hump with LeBron. Then he goes out to Oklahoma City. Can't get past the first round with Russell. Then finally goes out there, LA Clippers. He's from LA. That's his home. That's his home. LA is his home. If you ever notice, it never works out when players go home to LA. Whether that be Baron Davis, whether that be Paul George. No, I'm being serious.
No, I know you're being serious. I'm just laughing.
Whether it be Baron Davis, whether that be Paul George, whether that be Kawhi, it never works out when they go home. And hey, it's a curse to be said about that, the curse of Los Angeles. So, yeah, it just has not worked out for them. And like I said, remember when Kawhi Leonard first came to the LA Clippers, man. Remember the whole car scene, him getting in the drop top, him with the keychain, with the crown on there. He was supposed to take over Los Angeles, supposed to overtake LeBron and LaMelo Ball and Lonzo Ball at a certain point. Because remember, it was LeBronzo when they first got there. So
how's that turned out?
That didn't turn out very good. But at the end of the day, LeBron he came to LA and got what he came for. He got a chip. He got LA a chip. Kawhi, unfortunately, he is still fighting for that. And it's only a question of if he can get it at this point, because he's been on that sideline a lot. Now, when he's back on the court, he's looked like a top 5 player, but we only see that in spurts. People were expecting when him and Paul George came, people were expecting for that to win a championship for the LA Clippers, for them to open up that new stadium that they had built and bought from the Madison Square Garden group, the old Great Western Forum, which is ironically, the Lakers' old stomping grounds. They were expecting them to open up that stadium with a championship caliber team in order to bring fans in. You got a champion on your hand, LA, and it's not with the purple and gold.
Yeah, so, and they also talked about how Kawhi and Paul George, the second coming of MJ and Scottie.
Yeah, and then you had Patrick Beverly before he left. He was talking all that noise to the Warriors. You had the first couple of years. The next couple of years is mine. So it was a lot, and it's been a lot. It's been disappointing. It's been very
no. I'm just laughing at the Lou Williams Magic City at the bubble.
But yeah, it was a lot of expectation with Kawhi and Paul George. Unfortunately,
I mean, it's a culmination of things, champ. Let's not forget Doc Rivers. I mean, multiple 3-1 leads that you've blown. And you ended your last year with the Clippers by blowing a 3-1 lead. Meanwhile, your successor, Tyronn Lue, took over the team and was able to get the Clippers to the Western Conference Finals.
Yeah.
Something that the franchise had a hard time doing.